Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. I think this is the first time we're back up in 2022. I apologize. I've been out of commission a little bit on this, dealing with some family stuff, dealing with some work-related things, but now I am back, and hopefully every other Thursday we'll be live again. So welcome, everybody. Although this is a show by an attorney, nothing herein is legal advice. Do not rely upon anything we say. You have not hired an attorney. There's no attorney-client privilege. And again, nothing herein shall be construed as legal advice. I want to welcome a very close friend of mine and just a tremendous individual, Mitchell Ortega, who, believe it or not, I have had the honor of knowing Mitch probably 20 years. I'm going to tell this quick story. Mitch worked with me for a handful of years and actually took an entire section of the practice and went off and ran it and did a phenomenal job. But I remember Mitch came in as a summer intern when he was after his first year of law school, and he's sitting there working. And my wife walked into the office and he put his head up, not missing a beat. Good morning, Mrs. Weiss. Kept on working. And then he kind of like dawned on him. Holy cow, Mrs. Weiss. Well, my wife was his middle school teacher. And amazing. And Mitch and I have been colleagues, friends, and we've been through major crap together. Is all I'm gonna say, and he's just a phenomenal man. And look, I mean, I had another guest scheduled for today, and we're not gonna drag him through the mud too much, Corey. But I called Mitch up and said, hey, I got the show, and he's like, dude, I'm in, whatever I can do. So that's my intro to Mitch. Mitch is the guy who will drop everything and get it done. Mitch is an attorney, and I'll let him speak about himself a little bit, but he is right now focusing on something that I think that it's going to be booming again, and it has to do with collections and credit card debt. And because of COVID and because of everything and missing jobs and overextending and needing things for kids and school supplies and all this, people started using credit cards again. And now the credit card companies are raising interest rates, and the Fed raised interest rates, and people are getting stuck with interest that they can't afford and doing all this. And Mitch is helping those individuals get some relief. So without further ado, and relief to all you having to listen to me, Mitchell Ortega, based out of St. Augustine, Florida, but it has a national presence. So Mitch, give us a minute or two about yourself, and I'll interrupt you and keep plugging you.
Wow, Jay, thank you so much for that intro. I'll just say that Corey's loss is my gain. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk with Mr. Jason Weiss. But yes, thank you so much. As of right now, that is still my bread and butter practice area, collections defense work. And you made a very good point. In today's world, with the economic circumstances coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people had to miss work or at minimum reduce their hours. And a lot of people prior to that were already living paycheck to paycheck. So, I mean, that just really compounded a lot of problems. So I work at a law firm called Guardian Litigation Group. It's based out of California, but like Jason says, we have a national presence. And what we do is we specialize in assisting individuals who are being sued in collections lawsuits to defend them, to assert any defenses they may have available to them, and if they wish also to try to resolve these lawsuits on terms that the individual clients can afford. The thing is, a lot of people feel guilty when they're getting served with the lawsuit for the unpaid debt. They feel they want to blame themselves. They feel like they could have done things differently. And, sometimes people get very lonely, and they don't feel like they can talk to anybody. And just at minimum, to sit down and have a consultation with us to just vent, talk about, why you feel this way, what's going on. We're happy to listen to you at minimum. And then at that point in time, we can also analyze, do you have any defenses to this claim? Was it outside the statute of limitations, for instance? Is it a debt that was already paid? A lot of times when you're dealing with an emotionally charged situation, like going through being served with a lawsuit, you might not be able to, even with a fine-tooth comb, go through those documents and see, do I have any defenses? Is this correct? Are they suing for the right amount of money? So having an attorney that's trained in this area of the law is invaluable. When you're going through a situation like this, we can go to court for you. We deal with the judge. We deal with the other attorneys. A lot of people, in my experience, have never been to court before. They're dealing with these things for the first time. Some people think you can go to jail for an unpaid debt. That's absolutely not true as well. So just having an attorney there.
When I get those phone calls for, hey, you're delinquent on this, and if you don't pay the debt, or your client doesn't pay the debt, we can come arrest them and haul them off for jail. Wait, that's not legit?
Not only is that not legit, but as you know, Jason, that is actually actionable under the FDCPA. And so on the flip side of just defending individuals from collections lawsuits and collectors that are coming for legitimate debts, we also have another side to our practice where we can actually make the debt collectors pay if they're improperly attempting to collect a debt in violation of federal law. There are a lot of people don't know this, but there are laws, federal laws in place that prevent debt collectors from taking certain actions to collect a debt. In fact, they were just amended recently, as you know, and Jason and I talked about this a couple of months ago, that there are new protections in place and new rules that have been put in place by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that limit, again, what debt collectors can and cannot do. So it's a constantly changing area of the law, which is also why it pays to have an attorney that's knowledgeable in this area and can analyze your situation individually, and if necessary, give you white glove service to resolve any situation amicably.
Now, Mitch, is there a charge for a consult if somebody is being threatened with a lawsuit or has actually been served with a lawsuit and they want to give you a call? Is there a charge for that consult?
No, we do free consultations at Guardian Litigation Group. So I have some contact information. I definitely share it with you during the end of the show as well, about a number you can call for free consultations, as well as our main office number and contact information. So if anybody can reach out to me, I can get you in the right direction as well. But no, and we're happy to do that, because
there's the information right down there.
Exactly. So please call this number if you have any questions about a potential issue that you're dealing with in a collections lawsuit. Feel free to share this with any family or friends that are going through the same extent. We're happy to help out.
So Mitch, either quash an urban legend or confirm an urban legend. And by the way, the number that you can call for reaching Mitch is 800-316-3133, and his website is guardianlit.com, www.guardianlit.com. So you get sued because you get behind on your credit card, and oh my God, the world is over, the sky is falling, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. True or false?
That is false. So bankruptcy is definitely one of those options that you can consider. And sometimes it's the right move to make. It's, trust me, I have no trouble telling a client, honestly, based off of the amount of debt you have, any potential protections you would have to that debt, your overall life situation, where you are, your age, your occupation status, your familial status, all of those factors considered. If bankruptcy is the right move for you to make, that's the right move to make. But that is not the only thing that you can do in order to deal with debt. There are two other options. The three major ones, bankruptcy being one, but there's two other options that individuals can consider in that situation. One of them is debt consolidation. That is where you apply for a big loan to pay off all of these small individual debts. You consolidate the debt into one debt consolidation loan, usually at an interest rate that can even be better and more effective for you than these asinine interest rates that credit cards are going to charge you. So that's one route you can go. And then you also have debt settlement, which is a program in which you enter into a program and commit to paying a monthly amount every single month, which goes into a savings escrow account for you. And over time, that money starts to grow to the point where you have enough money now to go to your individual creditors and say, hey, Bank of America, hey, Discover Bank, you have this debt for $5,000. Will you take $2,500 right now, take it or leave it to resolve this debt? And a lot of times, these creditors are willing to work and resolve these debts for cents on the dollar. But again, it also pays to know, what creditors settle at what interest rates, what creditors are more litigious than other creditors. Is this creditor going to drag you to court? What are the actions that they usually take? What is their game plan? What is their MO? So having an experienced debt settlement company is another thing I'd recommend to make sure that you're not being led down the wrong path, because there's a lot of companies that do that work, but you can do research, like the Better Business Bureau is a good resource to go and make sure that you're hiring a reputable company in order to do debt settlement work. And just do your due diligence beforehand before you enter into a program like that. That would be the best advice I would give you. But to come full circle, yes, bankruptcy is not the only option that you have when you're dealing with that kind of debt.
And this might be the toughest question I ask all day. What happens with, some people are, oh my God, if I file bankruptcy or if I do the debt consolidation, my credit score is gonna take a hit. Chances are, if you're at that point, your credit score is probably on the lower side anyway. Is there any tie to the filing of the bankruptcy or working with an attorney like yourself to, the impact on credit scores?
So credit is a definitely a complicated subject in its own right. You're absolutely right in that could be a difficult question to plausibly answer. And it's hard because there's a lot of factors that go into taking a credit score snapshot of what would happen if I do this versus what would happen if I do that. Some people like myself and Jason, you also went to graduate school, you went to law school as well. School's not cheap. A lot of us have student loans, and that especially if you go to a graduate program that could be rather expensive, that is on your credit report. That can adversely affect your credit report. If you have any sort of medical debt, that can be on there as well. So it's really hard for me to say, if you file bankruptcy, it's going to take X amount of years before it rebounds, or you can expect it to get to a certain threshold at a certain period of time, because there's so many other factors involved in that. And the major credit bureaus, they look at many different facets of your reliability as a consumer and your inability to pay debts to really have a general rule of thumb. But I will say that the general understanding from a layman is that bankruptcy is a red stain on your credit and it'll be there for the rest of your life. And that is simply not true. There is a certain time period that bankruptcy will stay on your credit report, but over time it will elapse. And I have heard, and this is just anecdotally, but I have heard that a lot of consumers that have gone through the bankruptcy process a couple months after the discharge are already getting offers for credit cards in the mail. Because, honestly, creditors these days understands that bankruptcies do happen, but that doesn't mean that you're completely undesirable from the lending standpoint. They're still willing to work with you. And there are different strategies you can take if you want to build your credit without bankruptcy. That's just in general for credit building. But the question being, will bankruptcy stain your credit permanently? Absolutely not. It will not be a permanent issue on your credit.
Yep. And what about if you work with an attorney like yourself and you decide that bankruptcy isn't the right path and you're going to go ahead and try to work out a settlement on some outstanding debts? I'm guessing that again, your credit probably already took a hit because you're late on your payments and there's nothing that you could do. But when you resolve these outstanding issues, that's when you have the opportunity to start fixing, rebuilding, or increasing your credit score, would be my guess, correct?
That is correct. From the debt settlement standpoint, especially because for individuals that end up going that route, you need to understand that building your credit back up is a very, very long road. And there are different parts of that trip down the road that need to be taken care of. Debt settlement is like the very start of that. You have all of these debts. They're reported adversely on your credit. Even if those weren't there, your credit may be not as stellar as you would like it to be. And so strategically, there are different things you would do at different points down that road to maximize your ability to get a better credit score. Now, debt settlement is a way to individually resolve these debts just to get them wiped out and have them reported as paid on your credit report, which will definitely give you a nice boost. After that debt is taken care of, then you can employ different strategies that you can use in order to build your credit up and maximize that as much as you possibly can. So yeah, it's definitely one step in the process. Credit is, there's a lot of companies that deal with just building your credit. But what I do, I usually work with individuals that are right at the beginning of that road, right? Starting at the starting line as far as how do they repair their credit, build their credit back up. And it's not a very pretty process, but it definitely gives you a boost and a good start on that long road to building your credit back up.
Now, Mitch, you said that you're based out of St. Augustine, Florida.
Yes, I am.
You're licensed here in the state of Florida.
Yes.
But you work with clients that are in other states. Is that correct?
Yes. So my law firm has a number of attorneys that are licensed across the country in different jurisdictions. I'm very lucky to be the director of litigation at this law firm, so I actually get to work with my associate attorneys and help guide them and give them advice on how to deal with the state-specific issues that they encounter doing work in their individual states. So it is fascinating to see how different these lawsuits can be, that different the laws themselves can be, what exemptions apply from state to state, because it does vary immensely. There are certain states that are very different from Florida, Jason, as you know, with all of the litigation you've done and federal courts you're licensed in across the country. So it's fascinating, and it keeps you on your toes, because you're going to see something different every single day. If you're in Kansas, if you're in Texas, if you're in Tennessee, if you're in New Jersey, if you're in California, and we work in all of those states. So it's really, really interesting. But yes, we do have a national presence. So there's a good chance that if you're having an issue and you're watching this in another state, or you have someone in another state other than Florida that having an issue with collections, if we can't help you, we could definitely at least point you in the right direction. So very, very happy to help out.
Now, were you a national law firm before the COVID pandemic, or was that something that was just a knee-jerk reaction to the pandemic?
So we existed before the pandemic, Guardian Litigation Group. The presence over time has grown, and because we have a number of attorneys, in fact, 95% of our attorney team, in-house attorney team, works remotely across the country, scattered in different states, and the main office is back in California. But we have grown the law firm. We've been scaling the firm up, and the need of our services was definitely increased by the COVID pandemic because of what we talked about right at the beginning of the show, which is that unfortunately a lot of people suffered economically during that time period, and it's really changed the legal landscape and the practice areas that are offered. So we put ourselves in a good position, and we've been scaling the firm up appropriately since then to keep up with the demand of all of the adverse economic effects that took place because of the pandemic.
What other areas do you guys do?
So we also do, like I mentioned previously, in addition to collections defense, we also do analysis for claims under the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. But we also do some employment law and some estate planning as well. And we are exploring possibilities of maybe getting into some different practice areas right now. But because we've built a very strong infrastructure and network of attorneys in a national presence, the sky is the limit as far as where this firm can go. So it's a great firm to work for. It's a young firm. Is being developed very well. We have great leadership at the top. It's very exciting because remote law firms in and of themselves are a very new trend, as you know, Jay. And it's really interesting to see how commonplace it is now, because law partners from 20, 30 years ago would probably be spinning if they thought that 20, 30 years later, not only would we be working from home, we'd also be appearing in court from our home. And with technology these days, Jason and I can go to court from our own bedrooms if we wanted to, because of the technology we have in place. And God knows we probably have done that a couple of times. Maybe
never from my bedroom.
Never from the bedroom.
I mean, yesterday I was in two different jurisdictions in two different states on the same day, 3 actually. Who would have thought, that's the way that we were going. And look, I was you knew this. I was in the office 6 days a week. And the seventh day I work off my kitchen table. Now I go in 1 day a week because I want to check my mail.
Right.
Mitch, I believe you're fully remote. Unless you might have an office still, but this is the new way of doing it. And we still try to have face-to-face meetings with clients. We still try to accommodate the needs of others, but these days between text, email, Zoom, Google Meets, whatever platform you use, you could do anything from anywhere.
Yes.
And that seems to be it. So, it's good and bad. And we'll talk about the good and bad when we come back from a commercial break. We're going to jump for a commercial break to hear some of our wonderful sponsors. And when we're back, we'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly on Zoom. And I will plug my own coffee, where I will be giving away free coffee, where all you need to do is email me. So stay tuned and let's hear our wonderful commercial.
Everybody loses, especially the children. I know, because my custody battle lasted years, was completely unnecessary, and financially devastating. That experience inspired SplitSmart. SplitSmart is designed to empower both parents by giving them the structure they need to stay on course for a more peaceful and respectful co-parenting future. For less than amicable couples, our unique line item negotiation approach helps soften sometimes emotional stances into child-centered agreements that both parents can live with. Do you want your children to thrive and grow up with healthy, loving relationships with both parents? How much easier would it be if you could bypass the conflict and create a clear, supportive, and comprehensive co-parenting plan and schedule that's tailored specifically for your family? Can you imagine what it would be like if there were no arguments about money or child support? If any of this appeals to you, if you want to minimize the expense and drama of divorce, do yourself and your children a big favor and use SplitSmart to craft your co-parenting and support plans. And as an added benefit, even if you've done your best and still can't get all the way there, SplitSmart will have your information well organized, so a skilled mediator or family lawyer can efficiently help your family cross the finish line. Visit splitsmart.com today to get started on creating a brighter and more joyous tomorrow for you and your kids.
We are back. This is Jason Weiss on Ask Jason Weiss, and I am honored to have with me Mitchell Ortega, who is the debt collection defense attorney, who will help you all out. So before we broke, I said that I would talk to you about coffee, fresh roasted coffee. You can hear it for the radio people, and I will. I promise you, it smells good. I'm back to roasting and brewing my own coffee. And all you need to do is shoot me an email, and my email address of jason@jswlawyer.com or jason@askjasonweiss.com. Put in the subject line coffee. I just need to know if you want it ground or whole bean, and a mailing address. And I'd be more than happy. And all I ask for is honest feedback on what you think. Now, I'm still ordering these beans from companies and roasting them and making them my own. But I do have some coffee trees that are growing in my backyard. And hopefully they will produce some bean. And I can't wait to roast and drink my own coffee. And it's funny, I'm not even a coffee drinker. I'd rather an energy drink any day. But I got to drink my own product, and it's delicious. So again, if you want coffee, just send me an email saying coffee. send it to Jason at askjasonweiss.com, and I will ship you a sample of either whole or ground. And all I ask for is honest feedback. There's no catch. I'm shipping it to you for free. It will arrive just like this. So back to other things. We were talking about virtual law firms and the practice of law. And Mitch, you're a good chunk of years out of law school, not an old guy like me, but you've been out. And you did say that you're working with some younger attorneys and associate attorneys. And if I implied that meant they were younger, associate meaning, that they answer to a partner as opposed to a colleague or type. So basically the question is, you got kids graduating from college, not knowing what to do, kids graduating from law school, not knowing what to do. Based on today's environment, and you and I aren't in law school, and I'm not teaching on that level right now. What changes do you think law schools should be making with regard to how they teach things?
Well, and I think this transition is already starting to begin, but because technology is so influential on the practice of law, I would love to see law schools change their courses to accommodate the changing technological standpoint, and just the situation we're in as far as using, client relations management software, for instance, legal billing software, legal bookkeeping software. These are all things, especially those who are coming out of law school and hanging their own shingle. That is, a skill set that you're going to have to learn on your own. And if you had even an elective class in law school that sort of introduced you to some of the larger software companies out there and got you up to speed on how to use it, if you come into a law firm, whether you're hanging out your own shingle or going into a law firm where you're responsible for billing 2,200 hours a year, and you need to know how to input it efficiently because you can't waste any time whatsoever, having a little bit of background in how to use that software, I think, would be fantastic and a good skill set for law students to have coming out of law school. That, and then just making sure they're hitting all the substance of what you're going to be tested on the bar exam. And those are probably the two big things. And obviously the latter is already given a great deal of priority, but it becomes infinitely more important because I also, coming out of law school for a couple of years, have seen individuals that were in the same classes as me that weren't able to really pass that bar exam. And it's unfortunate because your earning potential, the reason why you went to law school and the value you were supposed to get with all of that blood, sweat, and tears you put into it, you're not going to ever fully realize your potential earning-wise if you don't pass that bar. So that is always got to be the starting point. That is the first, second, and last thing that they need to prioritize in the grand scheme of things. But if you're asking me another skill set, I think technology. That's not something that was focused in my law school curriculum, and that's something I sort of had to get a crash course as I've been practicing myself.
Yeah, and I know we work together on some technology stuff and all of that. And, so one of the things that I'm doing right now with Ask Jason Weiss is a couple of my newer clients and people that just signed on with me. I'm basically, teaching them and I call it and the stuff, and I use another word, but I don't want to put it on the radio airwaves, the stuff they never taught you in law school. Such as how to deal with a judge that's not particularly fond of you for some reason, how to deal with an opposing counsel that is just uncontrollable and a lunatic, how to deal with a client that can never be satisfied, how to deal with a client that's not responsive. I mean, Mitch, you and I could come up with 100,000 different scenarios. And, that's one of the wonderful things. I'm technically a solo practitioner, but I've always had, not always, but since Mitch is a licensed attorney, ever since he's in law school, actually, a sounding block, somebody to call up. Mitch, let me run this by you. Sure, Jay, no problem. And we run it by, or I'll get a phone call. Hey, Jay, you got 5 minutes? I want to run this by you. And that's a great thing. And, I can't stress it enough for younger attorneys, older attorneys, any attorneys. You need someone there to bounce it off of, someone who's been through it before. Look, would I be calling Mitch on something outside of his practice realm? Probably not. But would I be calling him for something in the litigation world, in a transactional world, in a credit card world? Yes, 100%. I mean, Mitch and I were talking right before we got on, and I have a matter in North Carolina. I'm not a North Carolina barred attorney. I'm not going to try to be. I'd like to pro hoc in and help, but I need an attorney in North Carolina. Mitch is like, hey, give him a couple hours. I'm sure I got somebody. I can get you his or her name, and we'll go from there. And that's the kind of stuff they don't teach you in law school. In law school, they teach you very black and white. And it's funny, I remember one of the first things I ever read from Mitch that he ever did when he was a clerk. It was well written. It was well thought of. But the problem was that it was kind of, well, if you go this route, this. And if you went that route, that. And as attorneys, and Mitch, you can chime in at any time. At attorneys, we're there to advocate for our clients. And when our clients say, this is what I need and this is what's got to get done, you can't say no. You say, okay, well, I might not be able to do it the exact way you want it, but we could try this way, or we could try this way, or we could try this, or we could try that. And you find a solution. Just going back to your client saying it's impossible to get done, they're going to fire you. You're done.
Yeah.
And it's not impossible. It might not be possible the way they want it, but we've got to put on our creative hats. And I think that's a little bit of what we do. I think we're creative writers. I think we're creative thinkers. I think we're counselors. I think we're social workers. I think we're a shoulder to cry on. And a lot of times people don't realize we're also human beings.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And I say this to opposing counsels and co-counsels all the time. Look, as a human being, as a man, as a father, this is what it is. As an attorney, this is what it is.
Right.
And we can't be defined as ESQ or attorney. And I think that's very important.
I would just like to comment on what you just said, Jay. I also think you can add juggler to that list. We are professional jugglers because we have to juggle so many things. We're clowns, basically. I think that's the best way to put it. We're clowns, just without the noses. So we have to juggle expectations. We have to juggle our clients, what they want, what they would be okay with. Sometimes we have to counsel our clients to not let be perfect be the enemy of good. If I can give you 75% of what you want, that's usually a lot better than you would have gotten anyway. But everybody's different. And at the end of the day, clients can make those decisions. They can decide, from the big picture realm, what do you want? And, they could change their mind. And our job is just to give it to them straight. We're not going to promise them hopes and dreams. We're not magicians with the magic wand. We can't make everything go away or come, but we can tell you what is the legal ramifications of your actions? What does this mean? What is likely to happen? And what we think is in their best interest? And, and lawyers, we don't have the luxury of doing what we want to do. We have to do what we have to do. A lot of people don't understand that either. Our hands are tied. We can only consider your best interest by law. Ethically, it would be we could get in trouble, frankly, with our local bar if we were giving advice that we thought was just the best for any other entity or any other person other than our client. So we always are looking out for our clients. But yes, I think you could add juggler to that list. And if I could give, for the first issue you brought up, communicating with opposing counsel and communicating with judges and communicating with clients is probably the biggest thing you'll learn out of law school, because there is no class about that whatsoever. And in my experience, watching us experienced attorneys like Jason and other attorneys over the years, if I could come up with any philosophy for how to approach that, especially for young attorneys fresh out of law school, it is to be authentic. It is to be yourself. Don't think just because you now have an ESQ at the end of your name, you're somebody else, you're a big shot, you're entitled to anything. Just be yourself. Approach it with your own personality. Don't have to pretend to be anybody. Lawyers are smart people. We gravitate toward authenticity. We know if somebody's posturing or bluffing or sticking their chest out just to try to be intimidating. We could see that from a mile away, especially seasoned attorneys. The best thing you could do to get respect from the judges you're in front of, the opposing counsels you're against, and even your own clients is just to be yourself. That's the best advice that I could give.
And I was there for the first time Mitch ever argued in court.
Oh, come on, Jay.
And you know, and one of the things that we both picked up on, admittedly, was his arguments were great. His reasonings were sound, but he blew through them so fast. And once we slowed him down, it was no holding him back. So we slowed him down, and he just bursted onto the scenes, and it was awesome. And I'm still so excited to watch you, so excited to see, so excited to talk, and do all that, and just see the passion that you have for, you know, helping individuals. And it's funny because, you know, I can tell Mitch truly found his calling with this area of the law, and he's been in it quite some time, because he gets excited when a new law comes down, a new rule comes down, a new, not trick, but a new thing that he might know. And I remember when, you know, we were working on something together and he threw it in there. The rules of Florida changed. And as of, you know, this date and time, you had to do this. It was no longer optional. It was mandatory. And he dropped it in a footnote in the pleadings. And he was winning cases left and right because he took the time to do a little bit of research and find something else that nobody else found. Now everybody's fixed it. And because of Mitch's fixes and suggestions, he helped clients and he helped the practice of law, because now even plaintiffs' counsels are making things that they're right. And Mitch, you and I used to have this conversation all the time. They changed their standard complaints because of our motions to dismiss.
Yes,
and they've become more thorough, and they've done this. And to us, that was a win, because it's better for the practice. It's better for our clients. It's better for everything. So yeah. I'm going to segue into something that's near and dear to both of our hearts right now. So I always throw the hardest question of the day towards the end of an interview. And Mitch, I told you I'd keep it easy on you, and I have. So here's my hardest question of the day. Best legal movie ever.
So, Jay, you and I are in complete agreement on this very, very controversial subject. Interesting enough, the movie that is the answer to your question, that is the answer to the question that if it's asked to you, it's the answer you'll give, because you and I love this movie to death. Interesting, it was the 30-year anniversary of this movie coming out to theaters about 2 weeks ago. And the Florida Bar just did a poll. They did it for March Madness. They did a bracket of the best legal movies of all time. And this movie, of course, won from all of the Florida lawyers in the state who voted as the #1 legal movie of all time. And of course, I'm talking about the timeless classic.
Wait. Drum roll.
Yeah. My Cousin Vinny.
Bingo.
My Cousin Vinny. It's there's no contest. Not only is it a very funny movie, it's very well written. It's also, as Jay will reiterate, the most realistic legal movie that you will see, as far as showing how procedure works, as far as showing proceedings in court, interactions with opposing counsel. It is just a tour de force of a legal movie, and not even close. Jason and I have a bunch of legal movies that we love. We were just talking about The Devil's Advocate a couple of days ago as well. That's another movie that we love. Of course, Jason going to the University of Florida Law School, any litigators in the city of Gainesville is going to be on his radar, just like Keanu Reeves was in that movie. But yeah, it's not even close, Jay.
I went to University of Miami for law. But I'm a Gator for my undergrad. That's where I met my wife. We went back to visit. That's when we found out she was pregnant with our son way back when. So, you know, Gainesville's near and dear. I went to UM for law, but Gainesville is near and dear to my heart. And, you know, I actually watched My Cousin Vinny last night. It's one of the things that's on the queue, and when I can't sleep or I need to focus, I watch it. I mean, there are so many just relevant things. I mean, one of the things that I love is when he objects to the expert being brought on, and he says to the judge, Herman Munster, of course, he says to the judge, you know, it hasn't been, you know, conveyed to me before. They haven't turned it over. He was on no witness list. I know nothing about this and all this. And the judge is like, Mr. Gambini. That was well thought, well articulated, well done, denied. And you're like, what? Everything is in your favor. And I did everything you wanted and denied?
Yeah.
And
how realistic is that, Jay?
And
right?
I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
There was a judge in Broward County who is now retired where everybody knew what you had to do. You had to walk up to the podium when it was your turn, and you literally had to read off of a script. Good morning, Your Honor. My name is blank. I am here representing blank. What we are here for today is blank. Literally. And it would say plaintiff's counsel goes first, defense counsel goes second, because he wanted order in his courtroom. And that's the biggest thing. With all of the changes and all of the things going on, thank God the judges have kind of molded a little bit, and they've gotten it, and they're getting orders and procedures put in place so that it's easier for them, which is awesome. We don't want to make their jobs harder than it is, and it's easier for us to keep judges happy. And I think that's what it's about. And I had a compliment from a judge a couple of months ago that is allowing me to appear at things virtually because he said that my camera is clear, my microphone is clear, and I always dress professionally. I'm always in a shirt, tie, and jacket when I'm on those, not like today. And I'm always with a good computer, a good sound system. Everything is closed off. Everything is quiet. And I'm giving the judge the exact respect that the judicial process deserves. And I think that's something that, there have been videos floating around that attorneys are appearing in bed and they're coming in their pajamas. No. You're an extension of the legal system. The judges are there wearing their robes and treating us professionally. We need to give the judges the same respect, and our clients and our colleagues and the bailiffs and the judicial assistants, everybody, and just give respect. And that's my whole big thing, respect everyone. So when you said we've appeared at hearings from our bedrooms, I got a chuckle out of that. Hearings from our homes in full respect, 100%.
Yes, and if there was any bedroom appearances, Jay, it would have been with the full attire, if anything, and of course with a clear background. But I meant that as definitely as an example of what technology allows us to do these days, because it's never would have imagined 4 or 5 years ago that even if you wanted to, you could. Yes, and I also agree with you. It's great to have clarity from all of these judges as far as the new rules that go along with the technological advances that the courts are making, because a lot of judges also have formal rules for your background, your camera, your microphone, what you have to wear. It is technically an in-court proceeding, and most of us wouldn't show up to court with a bathrobe if we didn't want to get laughed or yelled at by the judge. So nevertheless, it's always good when we have rules. Rules are not a bad thing. They're a good thing because it gives clarity for all the parties. We all know what the rules are. It's actually worse when you don't have rules, because then you have to speculate as to how to meet the standards of what the judge wants. And that's very, very difficult sometimes because there's so many judges in so many counties in so many states, and they all want something different sometimes. So
this is perfect. This is perfect to just bring it back full circle. So when you get served with that letter or that lawsuit because you're behind on your credit card, or you can't make the payments, or you're afraid they're going to send you to collections, don't try to do it by yourself. Don't be embarrassed. Don't feel sad. Don't go, oh my God, the sky is falling. What you should do is call Mitch. He might not have the answer for you, but at least he's going to be an ear to listen. He's going to be able to probably help you, or at least get you on the right path. And it's not anything to be embarrassed by. Look, we've all been involved in things. It happens, So my recommendation is, you got credit card problems, you're behind on that, you're having collection issues, you're having whatever, give Mitch a call, or check him out on his website. So that's it for today. Mitch, I want to thank you again for hopping in, being on this show with me. You could be reached again at 800-316-3133. guardianlit.com. You could also check them out on the Florida Bar website. You could always get me at Jason at askjasonweiss.com, or askjasonweiss.com, or if you're looking for an attorney and not a coach, jswlawyer.com. Mitch, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today. Hopefully our listeners learned all about collections, what to do, and hopefully you won't ever get in that situation where you need it. But hey, if it happens, no big deal. Call Mitch. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Jay, thank you so much for having me this afternoon. It was great chatting with you. And yes, please, anybody out there, we understand problems happen that are unforeseen. You lose a job, you go through divorce, you have to relocate, no shame at all when you have to go through these very common life events. And if you need somebody to help you, if you need a second set of eyes, if you're curious about the legal ramifications, just give us a call. We're happy to help out.
And one last shout out to Cece, who is just the lady behind the scenes who runs this all. Couldn't be possible without her. Cece, thank you for everything. You and the GoingSoloMedia.com and the Going Solo Network. You guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm just honored and privileged to be able to do this every other Thursday at noon Eastern time. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the